Good morning.
I've been walking down the line and I gotta take time, so I better shape up.
Intro to South African History Notes. Early history 1700s, Dutch farmers or Boers migrate across South Africa and seize land used by indigenous people for cattle and sheep grazing, basis of their economy. Battles and smallpox pushed back the indigenous population of the San and Khoi. Wars break out between the Boers and the Xhosa and Zulu. Europeans dominate the western half of the area by 1800s. Early resistance. Shaka Zulu fights against Boers, ultimately unsuccessful but most successful against the white. Early history 1806, British seized and eventually annexed the Cape Colony. In 1809, the British decreed that the San and Khoi must work for white employers and place restriction on their travel. Biography. Acclaimed African writer Bessie Head was born on July 6, 1937 at North Napier Mental Institution in Pietermaritzburg, South Africa. Her mother, Bessie Amelia Emery, from the wealthy South African Birch family, had suffered from mental illness and was confined there at the time. Bessie Amelia Emery died at the institution in 1943. Head's father was an unidentified black male who had entered into a relation with Head's mother. The birth itself was a criminal act. At that time, extramarital sexual intercourse between black and white was illegal. Thus, Head's biracial identity would come to occupy much of her future writings. Abandoned by her mother's biological family, Bessie Emery was sent to live with a foster family, a colored couple, Nellie and George Health Coast. By 1950, she was declared a ward of the state and sent to St. Monica's Home, an Anglican mission school that served colored girls located in Durban, South Africa. In the same year, Emery began attendance at Umbilio Road High School, where she trained for her teaching certification. After graduation, Emery worked as a primary school teacher between 1956 and 1958, but soon discovered that her passion was in writing. She moved to Cape Town in 1958 and became the only female writer for the Cape Town newspaper, Golden City Post. By the next year, Emery had moved to Johannesburg, where she began to take an interest in South African politics and affiliated with groups like the Pan-Africanist Congress. After an arrest due to her political associations, Emery returned to Cape Town in the spring of 1960, where she began her own Pan-Africanist newsletters, The Citizen. In The Prisoner Who Wore Glasses, a summary. The Prisoner Who Wore Glasses by Bessie Head is a short story that revolves around the lives of a group of African political prisoners named Span 1. A span is another word for squad, meaning that the prisoners were required to work together. While working in a cabbage field, the prisoner came to find that they have a new warder called Warder Hanatije. Span 1 finds out the warder Hanatije is more brutal than past warders when a near-sighted prisoner with glasses is beat by him. It was uncommon for warders to harm this particular prisoner, Brelly, because of how feeble he is. Brelly promises to make it up to Span 1 by stealing from the warder. Brelly comes back with a large amount of tobacco, which, while it is a blessing to the prisoners, is quite unusual. When asked how he received the tobacco, Brelly claims that the warder gave it to him. Brelly caught the warder stealing fertilizer and used this knowledge to acquire the tobacco. From then on, Warder Hanachi was taken advantage of by Brelly. The narrator explains that the audience that Brelly is a father of 12 and begins to look at Warder Hanachi as a child. Hinachi can no longer really take advantage of him and begs for mercy. Eventually, Hanachi claims that he can spun one anything they wish if really will stop making his life so miserable. Really begins to feel pity for Hinachi and tells the warder that Span One simply needs a good warder. Hinachi interprets this is in his own way and he's often found putting up his gun to assist in the fields. The warder finds way of making the lives of the prisoner more enjoyable. In turn, Span One was able to improve things on Hinati's farm by stealing commodities such as fertilizer. In the end, thanks to the farmer figure, Burley, a powerful and heartless warder, grew into a respectable friend and assist to the prisoners of Span One. So the story, as we talk the short, as we talk about the brief history of the South African, where it talks about racial discrimination, separation or segregation of colored, we talk about apartheid, which is called as were called by Afrikaners who are different from colors, and political decision are those people who believe that racial discrimination is not way of treating other people because of their different color or different status in life. And it's also this story where we talk about the summary of the prisoner who wore glasses, which the character are the one span, which is the squad called in African, where people are grouped together to work together, and really, which is the main character of the story, where really is a father with 12 children, and really is a honest person with a reasonable person. And then where is the warder, which is the Hanachi, the warder who is strict and someone who saw everything in that prison. But because of the twist of the story, the warder and Briley find out that the secret of the warder, which he find out that the warder stole a fertilizer in the prison to provide his farmer, or to use it in his farmer, and then really find it out, and use it against the warder. And because really saw or see Hinachi the warder as a child, because he felt that Hanachi just someone who is afraid to be caught of, and then he used it against the warder to gain some benefit for them and to repay the things that caused the one span trouble because of him. So he used it against the warder to gain from the benefit of it. And also because of it, the one span gained something in return to the warder, and the warder gained something to the prisoner or the Afrikaners. And then which is called apartheid. They are the apartheid of the story, where they fight for their rights, and because they fight for their right as a person and as a African citizen, they are prisoned because of it. So the consequence of their action is the imprisonment and the group together to be a farmer, in a garbage. And then the moral lesson of the story, it talks about having cooperation and being observant being observant in people, and seeing people as different as they are, and using that weaknesses to gain something from the benefit of you. And then um that's it. The moral lesson is that understanding individuality can help each other to find peace and to find unity, because that's what the story talks about, where one span aparted and the warder, which is the rival in the story, became friends eventually, and in the end of the story, because they see something that no one, as like the quotes or the famous quote says, is that no man is an island, where they saw each other as someone who could help each other to gain something, to earn something. And then that's where the story talks about cooperation, friendship, and understanding. And then it's just simple. It's not heavy as the other story of um, Bessie Head, but it gives sense to the people. If you just don't see each other as rival, instead uh, uh, instead of seeing each other as a rival, but seeing each other as someone who could help you to gain someone who could help you to ease your to ease the problem that you are facing. I think if everyone or any one of us will use it, or do an action from it, we can the world won't be this hard, or the world won't be this difficult, if we were just understanding and patient enough, and simple enough to just to settle the problem. Because if the prisoner and the warder make it more difficult, it won't settle. It make it more bigger problem. Or it may cost more on the prisoner, because the warder can use it against the prison, because they're prison, so he has more power in it. But instead of using the power to affect someone, or to crush someone, he didn't use it. Instead, he used the simple way to cooperate, to to conduct a contract, diba? So that's it. I hope you understand, and I hope you gain something from my lesson. And then the history, the brief history is not so it's just a brief reading of mine, and then the rest is yours. That's all.